going on, guys? Pillow Trades here. Hey, so I've been asked this question a lot recently, and so I figured, you know what? Let's share the information, put it out to everybody, and maybe I can get some of you guys to get going on this, especially if you have, newborn, small kids. It's a 529 plan is a great idea, right? So I'm going to share, some key points, some downsides, some upsides, and let you decide whether or not this is a great opportunity for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. So how does it work? All right, here's an overview of how a 529 plan works. Right, this is a state-sponsored savings account that helps you save for college and other qualified education expenses. Now, I think it's kind of a stretch to call it a savings account. It's not really a savings account. Remember, a savings account will give you crappy returns if you ask me. This right here, 529 plan, will take those funds, and yeah, sure, it could be, I guess, called a savings account, but not really, because they will invest that money. The account, what it does is that it invests those funds into broad market ETFs. So right off the bat, with that alone, I think it's exponentially better than a savings account. You can contribute money to a 529 plan and the money grows tax deferred. That is key, tax deferred. When you withdraw money from the account for qualified education expenses, the withdrawals are tax-free. Now, how does it work? An adult opens the account and contributes money on behalf of a beneficiary. That beneficiary could be anybody, honestly. It could be yourself, it could be a spouse. More often than not, it's a young child. It could be your son, your daughter. It could also be your niece, nephew, even grandkids can be a beneficiary. The money is invested in assets like stocks, bonds, or mutual funds. Earnings grow tax-free. And when it is time to pay for education, you can withdraw the money tax-free. Now, some of the benefits, like we said before, it is tax advantage, right? And it is a way to save for college. It can be used for tuitions, fees, books, supplies, and more. Some states offer tax deductions or credits for contributions. You can update the beneficiary if you don't use all of the money, which is amazing if you ask me, because once you name a beneficiary and that person later on gets like a full ride scholarship, or maybe that person decides not to go to school and becomes, like an entrepreneur, stuff like that, you can always change the beneficiary. Some of the drawbacks is that withdrawals must be used for qualified education expenses. Fees can vary, and there may be restrictions on changing plans or switching investments. Now, what that means is that once you set the allocations in which your funds are going to be invested, if you change those, there might be some restrictions, or maybe there might be a limited set of mutual funds on how those funds can be invested. And, so there might be, restrictions on that, or, I don't know if there might be fees. I don't think so, but there may be restrictions on what you want to, or what you can invest in. That only means that, for example, if you put like $1,000 in there, you open up the account, and there might be only mutual funds available that are broad market. In my eyes, that is way better than letting you choose specific company stocks like Tesla or Meta, because you never know, those companies might be crappy from here on to like 18 years down the line. It could be crappy, and so your investment is not going to be optimal at that point. But if you do broad market ETFs like a 500 or like an S&P 500 fund, then you're more often to like win rather than lose. So what happens if a 529 plan if the child doesn't go to college? If your child doesn't go to college, you can use the funds in your 529 plan for other qualified education expenses or withdraw the money, right? You can use the funds for trade schools, career training, and apprenticeship programs. You can use the funds for books, supplies, and equipment for apprenticeship programs. And you can use the funds for qualified education expenses like room and board, technology, and private K-12 tuition. Now, this doesn't have to wait all the way to college. It can be used for, private K-12 tuition. Now, when you withdraw the funds, you can withdraw the money, but you'll pay a 10% penalty on earnings growth. The withdrawal amount will be taxed at the beneficiary's rate, which is likely to be lower if it's your child, right? So this is withdrawing the funds for non-qualified expenses. There are a few situations where you may not incur a penalty at all. But remember, if you have questions when it comes to withdrawing your funds and what it may qualify for, I suggest you talk to an expert or do your due diligence when it comes to researching what you'll be penalized for. Other options, you can keep the money in your 529 account for future generations. Remember, you can always change the beneficiary, right? If you have other younger kids or maybe grandkids come into the picture, or maybe, another, family or relative that you might want to, gift this to. You can transfer the funds to another family member, and you can always, again, change the beneficiary to your liking. Now, this is my favorite part, right? What if you have like one child, no grandkids, and that child ends up getting a full scholarship or ends up becoming an entrepreneur and doesn't use the 529 plan? You can roll over a 529 plan into a Roth IRA tax-free, and that is as of January 1st, 2024. So a little bit over a year ago. And this is subject to certain conditions, right? So eligibility requirements are: the 529 account must have been open for at least 15 years. The eligible rollover amount must have been in the account for at least 5 years. So I know this is a bit confusing, but essentially, let's say you open the account from when your child is born, like I did. You're gonna knock out these two requirements. You're gonna knock them out, honestly, because if you open the account, at the moment that, or around the time the child is born, the 15-year mark and the 5 years that these requirements mention, they're going to be knocked over. So you don't have to worry about that. Beneficiary must have earned income that at least equals the amount to be rolled over. So if you roll over, let's say $1,000 out of that account into a Roth IRA for that child, more than likely, that income, that income requirement is going to be met, because who do you know, or essentially the way it goes is when you're in college, you're not really making a huge amount of money, right? And if you are, then those limitations are probably going to be covered based on the amount you have on that 529. I don't know if that made sense or not, but hey, we'll roll over with it. And then the other one says rollover must be to a Roth IRA account in the name of the 529 plan beneficiary. So essentially, whoever you named, that's the person that can roll over that Roth into that Roth IRA. Lifetime maximum that you can make a transfer from a 529 to a Roth is $35,000. Rollover amounts are subject to annual contribution limits applicable to Roth IRA. So there are some limits that you can contribute to a Roth IRA, and that's the reason why you have those rollover limits, because you can't, it's not a hack. You get me? You can't, this is not like a way for you to get over the limitations, or one up the limitations of a Roth IRA. A Roth IRA it's very, I don't want to say restricted, but a very there's many rules, there's many regulations that go over when it comes to a Roth IRA. So a 529 plan is not going to be a way to one up those limitations. But hey, you can always take advantage. All right, imagine even with these limitations of rolling over a 529 account into a Roth IRA for your child. I mean, just imagine, I wish I was an 18-year-old, a 23-year-old coming out of college. I wish I was in that situation where if I would have gone to college and come out, with a Roth IRA and maxed out for whatever year that was, like, that would have been great. I feel like that's a great setup. It's a great way to set your child up for life. So if you ask me, this is one of the best tools you can have when it comes to, building generational wealth. Now, if you ask me, this isn't the perfect way to set up generational wealth or to build generational wealth, but I think this is a great tool. This isn't the only tool available, but this is a great tool. And not only are you going to set up your child for, college potentially, but if the child ends up being like a star athlete or entrepreneur, or gets a full scholarship, or just doesn't want to go to college, wants to go straight into the workforce, doesn't matter what the child does, you can use this tool to set that child up, his or her future. That's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching. Remember, keep dollar cost averaging, keep investing. Till next one, take care.